Lana Tatour joins me now from Sydney. She's a senior lecturer in development at the School of Social Sciences at the University of New South Wales. Professor, thank you for your time. Before I get into your perspectives on what's happening with Israel, because I know you're quite vocal about this on social media, do you believe that the US does or does not have ultimate control over what is happening?
Thank you for having me. Look, it's clear that Israel cannot do what it's doing without the approval of the United States. Israel would not have been able to carry a genocide in Gaza for a year now, to carry the attack on Lebanon now, a year into the genocide in Gaza, without U.S. active support, without U.S. weapons, without U.S. Military and financial and diplomatic backing. So let's be clear, if the U.S. wanted this carnage to stop, if the U.S. wanted what is escalating into a regional war to stop, if it wanted to secure security for the region and for the international globally, it would have been. But now we are at the brink of a regional war. Israel Netanyahu has today threatened Iran with a regime change if they retaliate. And this would not be done without U.S. backing and without U.S. active material support.
This evening, we've been talking a bit about proportionality and the fact that Israel is conducting what seems to be a one-sided battle against all its enemies, all its foes. I'm happy that you're on the show as someone from another first world country because we look at the political sphere and how it seems to trump common sense and human lives. This obviously seems like something that would be a permanent stain on humanity for generations to come. The way that the world has responded, the way that the powerful in the world has responded to what's happening in Gaza, in Lebanon.
Absolutely. This is a stain on humanity, and it's more than that. It is the collapse of the international liberal order. It is a major crisis for international law. It is a major crisis for the legitimacy of our international system. This moment is definitely significant for Palestinians, and it has major significance for the region, as I believe that what is happening now is Israel seeking to re-engineer the region along territorial and demographic lines in the West Bank, in Gaza, in Lebanon. But to be clear, this moment is significant to the world. Israel is setting precedent. The next wars, not only led by Israel, but more generally, will be determined by what is happening now in Gaza and in Lebanon. The credibility of the international system lies on a hinge, if not completely now, is considered illegitimate, given the failure of the international community to stop Israel. Israel has violated international law time and again. It is facing a trial on genocide. And we are seeing the failures of the international community, the international system, and international law. What we are seeing is the utter dehumanizations of Palestinians and Arabs, which allows this to go on for now over a year. We're a year into the genocide, and the war is only expanding. In the last 24 hours, Israel has bombed Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria. Israel is acting with absolute total impunity, and that's not only impacting Palestine and the region, it has implication for global peace and security. And the fact that Netanyahu has given the order for the assassination of Nasrallah from within the UN headquarters in New York City. That's the death of the international system as we know it, the liberal international system.
I'm quite fascinated at the international response online to what's happening in Gaza and Lebanon. Let me just direct our viewers to a tweet that you retweeted by Greg Barnes. It goes, while the Australian media and political class whips up hysteria about flags of prescribed organizations, they're happy for people to fly the flag of a nation whose leaders are committing genocide. Hashtag Israel. Obviously, people in different countries have different concerns, different challenges. Some people are just fighting to put food on the table. People are dealing with the climate crisis. Do you think it's fair that people do have their issues and some people just don't have time to pay the attention that's needed to a region like Gaza?
Look, I think globally what we have seen is enormous attention and care for Gaza. We need to distinguish between certain governments in the West and the people. We need to distinguish. Also, we need to look at the world as more than the West. What we have seen in the last year is the enormous popular global support for Gaza, with millions taking to the streets in many countries, in many cities. It's been a year to the genocide in Gaza, with weekly demonstrations that attract still today thousands every week. We have seen huge mobilization on campuses. So what we have is a clear message by the vast majority of the world, in terms of governments, in terms of people, saying we want a ceasefire, we want an end to this. What we have is Western governments, in particular Western governments, especially the US, the UK, Germany, and Australia, where I'm based, and others, allowing Israel to act with total impunity. So we need to distinguish between the people and what is happening. The world, the majority of the world, is quite clear in their message and in their solidarity for Gaza. There has been a lot of care to what is happening in Gaza, but the West is taking care of its own, what it perceives as its own interests. It is supporting Israel, often in contradiction to the wills of its own people. And polls do tell us that also in the West, the majority supports ceasefire. So let's be clear on that. In the context of Australia, what we have seen is there was a demonstration on Sunday, and there were Hezbollah flags raised. Hezbollah is considered by Australia, under Australian law, a terrorist organization. So now what we are seeing is the persecution and prosecution of Arabs in Australia that have been in this demonstration. Instead of seeing Australia caring for these communities whose families now are being affected in Palestine, in Lebanon, across the region, instead of seeing Australia being on the side of international law and demanding ceasefire and stop arming Israel and providing it diplomatic and military support.
We have to leave there, Professor, and I really appreciate a reminder that the world is bigger than the West, and there are people in other regions whose voices matter. Thank you for your time.